What is up, guys, and welcome to the channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Ayman. I run the page The Frag Stop here on YouTube as well as on TikTok and Instagram. Today I wanted to hop on here and talk about some of my most underrated fragrances in my collection. These are fragrances that I absolutely love, but I feel like are not getting enough attention. For whatever reason, these fragrances are usually overlooked or not talked about. So I'm here to make sure you guys get to know these fragrances and hopefully at least give them a try. And very quickly before we get started, I do want to take a moment to thank you guys for all the support you've shown me in the last couple videos. I truly appreciate every one of you guys and the comments you guys leave. We hit a huge milestone. We hit 2,000 subscribers. I am eternally grateful to you guys, and I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the content. And I also wanted to apologize for my poor consistency in uploading. You know how it gets, life gets in the way, but I promise I am trying my best to be as consistent as possible. And with that being said, let's get started with the video and talk about the first fragrance that I feel like is severely underrated, and that's MFK's Gentle Fluidity Silver. Whenever you talk about Maison Francis Kurkdjian, people are very quickly to bring up fragrances like Grand Soir, Oud Satin Mood, or even Baccarat Rouge 540, which are all amazing fragrances in their own right and deserve the hype that they're getting. However, if you ask me, my personal favorite and a very criminally underrated fragrance from their collection, I think, is this fragrance right here, Gentle Fluidity Silver. I've talked about this fragrance many times on my channel because of how much I love this fragrance. It is such a perfect, versatile fragrance that works for many, many occasions. You could easily wear this every single day without a problem, to the office, to school, to going out. This stuff works. This is just a very beautiful, very unique fragrance. This is actually my second bottle of this stuff because of how much I used to wear it. I absolutely love it. For a time, this was my signature scent. And when people ask me to describe what this smells like, I usually say it smells like a soda water with some added berries. A lot of people do say that it smells like a gin and tonic. Now, I don't drink, but that could be true, so I can't really fact check that. But usually what I say is it smells like a very fizzy, very sharp soda water with some added berry. It has a little bit of a metallic property to it, but honestly, this stuff smells great. You definitely need to try it out. Give it a couple wearings, see what you think, because I truly think that this is the best fragrance that MFK has to offer. And for a fresh-ish fragrance, the performance on this fragrance is really good. I get a solid 7 to 8 hours. Sometimes this stuff even lasts next day on my clothes. Projection is also really, really loud in any time, summer or winter. This stuff cuts through the heat, cuts through the cold, and projects heavily. So yeah, if you're looking for a unique, different, fresh fragrance, then check this one out. Staying in the theme of fresh fragrances, the next fragrance that I think is massively underrated is Matière Premier's Neroli Oranger. This is one of my favorite smells in my entire collection. The way this stuff smells in the air is absolutely beautiful. It is such a photorealistic neroli and orange. So if you love neroli or you love your bright citruses, then you definitely need to check this one out. I will say that I also tried another fragrance that smells very, very similar to this fragrance, and that's Le Labo's Fleur d'Oranger. That stuff smells almost identical to this stuff, but costs more. So if you love that fragrance, then definitely check this one out because it's cheaper. And in my personal opinion, it's just a little bit better. I feel like Matière Premiere uses such good high quality ingredients in their fragrances. Whether it's this one or Falcon Leather or Crystal Saffron, you could smell the quality in their fragrances. The performance on this fragrance is not the best, but it's not the worst. You get around 4 to 5 hours, which is not too bad considering that this is a summer fragrance, and those usually don't last too long anyways. The projection though is really good. I find that this one is a loud fragrance. Every time I wear it, someone always makes a comment. Usually it's a good comment and say that they can smell my fragrance. So yeah, good projection. So if you like neroli or you're a big fan of orange blossoms, then definitely give this one a try. The next fragrance that I think is criminally underrated is Byredo's Black Saffron. Just like MFK, whenever you talk about Byredo, people are very quick to talk about their bestsellers such as Mojave Ghost and Belle d'Afrique, which again are amazing fragrances in their own right, but I don't think they're the best from the brand. I honestly think that Black Saffron is better than both these fragrances in terms of smell and even performance, which we'll get into in a second. Now, I will say this is not the most original fragrance out there. This is a take on the Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather DNA. but it is made a lot more wearable, a lot more versatile, and just a lot more usable. And that's because of two things. Number one, the raspberry in this is toned down and doesn't have a smoky background, which I feel like it does in Tuscan leather. This one is a lot more playful. The raspberry is a little bit softer, a little bit easier on the nose. It's not as pungent. It's also mixed in with some juniper berries, which makes it a little bit more brighter, a little bit more easier going. The leather in this is also smoothed down. It's not your raw masculine leather. Instead, it's more of a cashmerean leather type of thing where it's very, very smooth. And I think this combination works really, really well because it maintains that Tuscan leather DNA, but is still fresh and easy to wear, unlike Tuscan leather, which I feel like is a very occasion specific fragrance. With Tuscan leather, I feel like I always have to be either dressed up and going to a formal occasion, whereas with this one, I could wear this in casual clothes and enjoy it in any time, anywhere. And like I said in the beginning, the performance on this one is not bad. Now, Byredos are known for having horrible performance, but I found that this one doesn't perform too badly. I get around 4 to 5, maybe even 6 hours with this fragrance with good projection. And yeah, I think it's one of the better Byredos. It actually does last. It doesn't fade away within an hour like some of their other fragrances. And overall, if you enjoy Tuscan leather, I think you're really going to enjoy this fragrance out and should definitely check it out. The next fragrance I want to talk about is from Louis Vuitton. Now I have 5 Louis Vuitton fragrances that I absolutely love. And I feel like every single one of my Louis Vuitton fragrances gets a lot of hype, including Imagination, Ombre Nomad, Afternoon Swim, and Pacific Chill. Those have all received a lot of hype. However, there is one that I feel like is really good, but does not get as much attention or hype as its other brothers, and that's Louis Vuitton's Sur La Route. This one, for whatever reason, is not talked about. A lot of people don't even know that this is a Louis Vuitton fragrance, but honestly, I think it should really get a lot more hype because this is in my top 3, guys. A lot of people don't even know that this is a Louis Vuitton fragrance, but this is genuinely one of my favorite Louis Vuitton fragrances from my collection. I really enjoy this fragrance, and I think it's one of their better creations. And it's honestly a shame that people don't talk about it often. Now, it's going to be very hard for me to describe this fragrance to you guys because of how unique it is, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Now, essentially, I think of this fragrance as a leather fragrance for summer. Now, that's a weird combination, leather for summer, but it really is. It has a beautiful combination of citruses and leather that works really, really well. I even like to joke that Louis Vuitton made this fragrance by mixing a random amount of their fragrances, because this just has aspects from many different Louis Vuitton fragrances that I love. The opening of this fragrance has that signature Louis Vuitton citrus, the ones that you see in Imagination or even Afternoon Swim, but it's blended with a beautiful leather note, which I think is the same leather note as Ombre Nomad, as well as some patchouli that I think is the same patchouli as their other fragrance, Louis Vuitton's Orage. But yeah, like I said, the combination of citrus, leather, and patchouli just allow this fragrance to be a very versatile leather fragrance that could even be worn in the summer, which is usually when I wear this fragrance. So the next time you go to Louis Vuitton, instead of trying just Imagination or Afternoon Swim, definitely check out Sur La Route. The next fragrance I want to talk about is Maison Crivelli's Oud Stallion. This fragrance was a recent pickup for me, but it was a love at first sniff. And I think the stuff is very, very underrated and deserves as much attention as its older brother, Oud Maracuja. Now, I absolutely loved Oud Maracuja and think it deserved all the hype that it got. However, I did wish that this one had a little bit more oud and a little bit less passion fruit. And this was the answer to that. Oud Stallion has the same combination of leather and oud that you have in Oud Maracuja, but without the passion fruit. Instead, it has saffron in the opening, which adds a little bit of sweetness. It honestly does smell a little bit similar to Oud Maracuja, but obviously a lot more dry and a little bit more animalic. It's definitely harder to wear than Oud Maracuja, but I still think it's mass appealing and very wearable, especially in the winter time. And if you're like me and you're a massive fan of oud, then you definitely need to check this one out, because this stuff is honestly something special. And if I had to only keep one, I think I would definitely keep Oud Stallion. The next fragrance I feel like should be getting a lot more attention is Essential Parfums Bois Imperial. Now, this fragrance was perfumed by Quentin Biche, who also created a fragrance that's very, very, very similar to this one, and that's Marc Antoine's Ganymede. These fragrances smell super, super similar, but this one is just a lot cheaper and I think provides a lot more value. When I first smelled this fragrance, I was honestly confused because I didn't know what I was smelling. I couldn't pick up on any individual notes, but I did know that it smelled really, really good. As soon as you spray it, it's a little bit spicy and comes off a little bit metallic, but as soon as it dries down, surprisingly, it smells like a very clean fragrance. And it's a very beautiful and very, very unique fragrance. I don't think I've ever smelled anything quite like this fragrance ever before, other than Ganymede, obviously, which I consider them to be the same fragrance. But yeah, very unique. It's also surprisingly very versatile. You could definitely wear this stuff all year round or even as a signature scent. The performance is also really good on this fragrance. I got around 12 hours on skin. Yeah, did last that long, trust me. And for the value or for the price of this fragrance, you're getting a lot of value because this is on the cheaper side of niche fragrances. I think you could pick this up for $90 to $100, and it's honestly really good and definitely worth the money. Another fragrance I feel like is not talked about at all is Xerjoff's Opera. I don't know why this fragrance doesn't get any attention because it is honestly such a beautiful fruity fragrance, and I'm usually not the biggest fan of fruity fragrances, but this one does it so well and in such an elegant way that it really shook me and surprised me, and I had to get a bottle. It's a beautiful combination of fruits and ylang ylang, and it smells so elegant, so classy. This definitely isn't a very versatile fragrance. I feel like you do need to dress up for this one. I think it's adequately named Opera because I could imagine someone wearing this to the opera, and just a very underrated Xerjoff fragrance that I absolutely love. It smells so good, so rich. I absolutely love this one. And like most Xerjoffs, the performance on this fragrance is really good. I get around 9 to 10 hours of longevity, and projection is also really good. Very, very loud fragrance. The final fragrance that I quickly want to talk about that I think is very underrated is Eight & Bob's Egypt. I haven't tried any other Eight & Bob fragrances. This is the only one I've tried. I got this one as a gift, and I was honestly really surprised by how good this stuff smells. And was even more surprised that I couldn't find anything online regarding this fragrance. No one was talking about it. No one knows it exists. And so that's what I'm here to solve. I want you guys to know about this fragrance. I want you guys to go try it out because this stuff is absolutely amazing. This fragrance has a little bit of a barber shop-like smell to it. It's very warm, very spicy, but still very classy and very elegant. It opens up with a beautiful combination of some spices, including nutmeg, with some citruses and lavender, which freshen it up a little bit, and dries down into a very warm leather fragrance. And it's not mentioned in the notes, but I do get a little bit of an ambery dry down, which combined with the leather smells absolutely amazing. And performance on this one is decent. You get around 6 to 7 hours with decent projection. Something surprisingly that I discovered recently was that this fragrance is very similar to another fragrance, and that's Argos's Danae, which I recently purchased and found to be very, very similar to Eight & Bob's Egypt. It's weird when that happens because the notes of these two fragrances are very, very different, but they do smell pretty similar in my opinion. This one is just a little bit fruitier, a little bit more mass appealing and easier to wear, whereas this one is spicier, a little bit more masculine and not as mass appealing. And yeah, those were 7 fragrances from my collection that I believe are very, very underrated and should be getting a lot more attention. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.